we talk about Industry 4.0 and digital transformation, the big change that is coming now is with this software first mindset that product is more a part of a physical space, not only a physical space, but also a digital space. And that digital space is beginning with or is taking birth at the same time as the concept of the physical system starts to evolve, and it runs along the life cycle of the system.
What we've seen over the last 3 years, roughly, if we take the pandemic into account, was like a mental shift towards how you work, how you collaborate, how fast you innovate, and how you experiment.
Look, companies that have adopted this technology have had great benefit. We've seen them in our own country through the pandemic here in the United States. We've seen the FDA adopt technology, digital twin technology, to help with how it's going to combat the next pandemic or the next major issue that hits us. We've seen companies having to scale up and scale down. All of a sudden, you go from full production to not having enough employees to produce. Digital technologies can help you manage how you're going to accommodate that. And then we've seen companies have to change over a line to go from making their core product to doing PPE. Digital technologies have helped with that across the board. These are the things that once a workforce gets educated on, I can tell you, they want to be a part of this.
Or having a transformation strategy is a big challenge in digital transformation or towards digital transformation. The companies can make the employees part of the journey.
What a difference I've seen in the last decade and a half working with customers. And a huge part of the reason is the world has changed. I mean, the world's changed tremendously. Companies are struggling to figure out how to deal with so much data. And it's not just their own data, it's customer data from usage of their products. So if you think about what that means and the impact on a company today, they have to have the ability in their own environment to leverage that. The other thing I would say is the rate of change that we're seeing is so fast. There's so much information at the consumer fingertips that consumer demands have also changed. So as a manufacturer, are you prepared for that? Can I get the change in requirements from my customer? Can I modify the product? We all talk about disruption. We've been talking about disruption for a long time. We've seen companies that were dominant that you don't even hear about anymore. The companies that have really learned to embrace that change and harness that change and modify the product, discover their best practices in their processing and their manufacturing, are the companies that succeed.
Take, for example, how Uber entered the market. Right? It was a very traditional market that you're working with, but you think about how you solve that problem with software. How do you reach a massive amount of people in a very short time? And that way you can possibly disrupt the market. So it's a change in philosophy.
COVID taught us something that it taught us a lot of things. But one of the things it did teach us is keeping things the same isn't a necessity.
Smaller companies or SMEs, I think they also need to be made part of this journey.
It's a tremendous chance for the smaller ones because they have the agility to actually adopt those technologies way faster. They're not hindered by massive traditions or principles that they've put in place. And because you can connect so many different partners with this technology now, if you collaborate in the cloud, if you collaborate in the space, use machine learning, and of course use open source principles, now you have a tremendous power behind those small companies when they collaborate together, that they become a valid player even in the bigger space. But I think for them, because it's less of an investment, less of a risk, if you simulate things first in the virtual space, in the augmented space, now you can test things, go a little bit further, try first in a safe space, and then go to market with something that is less risky for you.
Mm-hmm. By the way, this isn't reserved for enterprise companies anymore. I mean, some of the quickest adoption we're seeing is in SMB. These small and medium businesses and smaller manufacturers can embrace this technology and run with it pretty quickly. So the barriers to entry aren't there. The software's become so much more adaptable and consumable, and it's readily available. So we're seeing great progress, great progress.
We are evolving on or progressing on the way towards this digitalized manufacturing. And when we talked at that time, the technological enablers were simulation, robotics, data analytics, 3D printing, and how we can enable the users or the end users or the operators to interact with these technologies, and somehow reducing the complexity of those technologies and making those technologies more usable. So, and if we can do it, then we are definitely getting a lot of benefits from digital transformation.